and the Z. I got one brake on the left rear that works pretty good. All right.
Classic truck rescue.
Classic truck rescue. Oh, you're gonna do that? I can edit this. You didn't get that one, did you? Classic truck rescue. Been a while since I put a video up. Do you know how much editing I've had to do? Anyway. Oh, you smell nice.
Oh, so do you.
Annabella! I've been working. I have to do this. We don't rehearse this. She just, if I don't look at her, she can't do it. If I look at her, she can, whatever I'm gonna say. Anyway,
stop touching your face.
I've been self-quarantined for
several
weeks.
I know.
I've been out here on the ranch all by my lonesome.
Yeah.
Anyway. This is a really long video. I've been working on
this.
Starting to creep me out a little bit.
Can't help it. You're just so predictable.
I've been working on this video for almost two weeks. This is your warning. If you are one of the people, and I have a few people, that anytime I make a video that's over 30 minutes long, I get comments like, oh, it was too long. Well, it's a lot easier for you as a viewer to remember where you're at in the video, pause it, and come watch it later than it is for me to make 3 or 4 videos that cover bringing one vehicle back to life. So this video, what we're going to do is we're going to unload my 1979 Z28 4-speed Posse, 81,000 original miles. I'm the third owner. First owner owned it for a year. Second owner was a lady. She drove it till 1997. Then she put it in a barn for 22 years, and then I got it. So we call it the Krusty Z. Now, it's not a rust bucket, but it does have corrosion, which you'll see as soon as we get into this video. Oh, either you have to mimic me or you can't say anything.
You told me to shut up.
I did
I
not.
know you did.
Anyway, so this video was made, well, actually there were 92 video files that I had to go through and edit to make this video. And in the video, you will hear me reference to falling off a ladder and hitting my head on a trash pump and putting a dent in the gas tank. And I'll show you the dent that I put in the gas tank. But I got a pretty severe concussion. As a matter of fact, Jamie came out and found me. Guess I'd been snoozing for a while on the trash pump. I don't know. I wasn't there for that.
No, I saw you fall.
Oh, you saw me fall?
I saw you fall. And then I was walking out there to go to work, and I saw you fall, and I ran over there, and there you were. Eyes wide open, pupils this big, out like a light. So I had to do the sternum rub on.
I was wondering what that was you called it. Anyway, she did some kind of sternum rub and woke me up. But bottom line is I got a pretty severe concussion. I had a lot of trouble with my vision, and my eye doctor.
Your vision still must be altered. You married me, didn't you?
No, that part's still good. But anyway, the guy at the the doctor at the emergency room didn't really give me any specific instructions.
Except, don't fall and bump your head again.
Yeah, don't fall and bump your head again. But my vision doctor that they sent me to, because I was seeing all these, like when you watch the cartoons and they got the stars going around their heads and stuff, or birds tweeting. I had birds in my vision. I couldn't see really good for a while. And my vision doctor told me not to be on the computer, right, staring at the screen for long periods of times. But nobody told me I couldn't still work on cars and trucks. So for some reason, I spent about the next 2 weeks at night a lot working on my Z28 Camaro, because all I knew is I wanted to get that car running. I traded all of my lawn tractors. We went and gathered up all the John Deere lawn tractors that we had scattered all over the property. We put them on a big old trailer. We went and we traded them for this Z28 that had been in a barn for 22 years. And with a little money, but not as much as I would have had to pay without the John Deere tractors. Anyway, I just thought it was important that I get it running and driving, and for some reason I was focused on that for about 2 weeks. I did get it running and driving, and you'll see that in this video. I'm not prolonging this. I'm not stretching it out. There's not going to be 3 videos on it, but I can tell when you want to say something.
I don't want to say nothing. It's just my face.
Your face is beautiful.
No, it's no boat. Look, this is what happens when you're in quarantine and you can't go to the beauty salon. You got dark roots, and you can't go to the aesthetic technician because you can't get Botox. So I have frown lines. I have ripples in my forehead. I look like Geraldo Rivera.
No, you do not look like Geraldo Rivera.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't.
Anyways, it sucks.
You okay now?
No.
Where was I?
When you're like doing burnouts and getting things.
We hadn't got to that. Anyway, so this isn't going to be a 3-part video. First, we'll do a walk around on the car that I forgot to include in the first video that I made in it. I made one video on this car, and
so there is going to be 3 videos.
No, there's not. Well, there's going to be, but not.
You just said there wasn't going to be.
Okay, there's going to be one video. This video that you're going to watch right now will cover unloading the car off the trailer and everything that I did to get it running and driving, and us driving it down the street to the body shop where it has been for a year now, right?
Could be.
Anyway, so if you don't like long videos, just watch it for 20 minutes. Another thing, I was just going to get rid of this video and not even make it, but there is a lot of information, because everything that could have went wrong with this car did go wrong with it. As far as, you know, people have seen me go out and drag a truck out of the bushes and then right there by the bushes get it running and driving. This never would have happened with this car. But in this video you will see it come from being on the trailer, being unloaded, and everything that I had to do to get it running, and it was quite a bit. I mean, not, you know, I didn't have to rebuild the engine or anything, but I had to do a lot. And there's a lot of information in here that a lot of my older viewers are going to say, oh, that's, you know, meat and potatoes, that's basics, everybody knows about that. But there's a younger generation that's into these second-generation Camaros that doesn't know everything about them that we learned 20, 30 years ago. So if you want to learn how to clean out your fuel system,
blow up your tires.
Yeah, I don't know what she's talking about. Clean out your fuel system, clean up your electrical system, replace your carburetor, and a bunch of other little stuff that you might want to know how to do.
And how those road gators end up on the road.
She's always talking about the tires, this girl. Anyway, there's a lot of information, and I did cut a lot out. Like I said, there were 92 separate video clips that I had to go through and watch every one of them. Trust me, I've watched about 40 hours of video to make you this 1 hour and 45-minute video, and I had to edit it all.
That's in between whistling diesel,
We're
zip
not...
ties and plies, because you take breaks and you watch other things.
I was referring to the time that I have spent going through the videos and editing them. And I don't really know that I want to advertise for Whistling Diesel. Anyway, Jamie just named a couple of YouTubers that we do watch, and one of them gets like 1 million views every time he puts up a video because he destroys something every time he makes a video. And I told Jamie, you know, I got a couple of vehicles out here on the property that I'm not attached to, but I'm not going to start destroying cars and trucks just to gain views and subscribers and stuff like that. Also, we stumbled across another channel where the guy can't speak a sentence without dropping an F-bomb or an S-bomb or a C-bomb.
These guys are funny. They're like real-life trailer park boys. They're like Canadian redneck dudes that, yeah, they cuss a lot, but they're
okay,
funny.
But I've been working on my channel for over 10 years now.
That's mint.
And we've always tried to keep it family friendly. We're not perfect. We don't live perfect lives, but we try to make sure that our videos don't have anything in there that I wouldn't want my nephew watching, or my mother, or my sister, right? Or Jamie's grandkids, right? You get what I'm saying, right? So we'll keep plugging away at it slowly. As long as people keep subscribing and asking us to make more videos, I'll keep making them. But anyways, the main point I wanted to make was it took me an extremely long time to edit this video because I just noticed that I was goofier than heck while I was filming. And also, I was filming with a headlight on when I should have put lights up for you guys. So there's a lot of this that's just kind of Rick's view with the headlight. But I think it's an important video. It's a good video. I got done what I needed to get done. And I show, you know, where I fell and the trash pump with the dent. I put a gnarly dent in that tank, didn't I? And I show that. But that was a year ago. Understand that this is the end of April 2020 right now. But this video was shot in the end of April 2019. And I feel a lot better, doing a lot better. I think my head's healed. Some people may disagree with me on that. And anyway, so it's a long video, but if you have a second generation Camaro, because I do belong to a couple of second generation Camaro groups on Facebook and stuff, and I share what I do with this car on those pages. So yeah, if you have one, definitely look at it. Like I said, a lot of the stuff's basic, but there is some stuff that I've learned over the years that might be helpful to younger people that are trying to build or restore these cars. There's not a whole lot of cars from the late 70s and early 80s that are worth restoring, in my opinion. But Z28s are definitely one of them. And so I hope you enjoy this video. Thanks for tuning in. If you like our channel, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe, and the more viewers we get, the more it encourages us. As far as the building, we're getting a lot done on it. It's hard to make videos of it unless you can see a huge difference, and we're doing a lot of repetitive stuff. We just got finished. Jamie helped me, and we cleaned up the whole property, right? Got everything mowed.
And by this weekend, it's going to need to be done again, probably.
I just mowed today.
No, I mean under the building.
No, I'll be doing that tomorrow. Anyways, we had to landscape under the building, which we did, and I'll touch that up tomorrow. And I will do a video this week, within a week, on some progress on the building. And we are hoping, what we mainly wanted to do was get all the equipment and all the materials that we need to do it the way we want to do it, right? The winches, the caps for the posts to mount the winches to. We bought all the OSB that we need to, instead of just screwing metal through thin insulation onto the purlins, we'll be putting OSB underneath it, and it's going to make it a better building, right? Classic Truck Rescue. Hope you watch the whole video. Like I said, if you don't have time to watch it all, pause it, come back to it later, or save it for the weekend. Make yourself some popcorn. Well, you might want to go get a bucket of KFC. A bag of popcorn isn't going to get you through this one, folks. Anyways, hope everyone's staying safe out there. God bless America, and God bless you for watching. Thank you. Peace out. Can't get the driver's side door open, but pretty solid car. Not a rust bucket. Got the tilt column, tack, 4-speed. That's my favorite part. That and the posi rear end. Dash actually isn't in that bad a shape. This part needs cleaned up, but T-tops. Yeah, it's pretty solid. Doesn't have the quarter rust that they usually have. Got that nice mildewy smell to it. Looks like the original keys. Needs headliner, carpet, upholstery. So yeah, this would be a complete resto project. Posi rear end, last registered in '97. .373 posi, dual exhaust, front and rear sway bars. That one's bent because they've been towing it by the sway bar. Doesn't look like it's ever been wrecked. No rust. This thing hasn't been modified one bit. T-tops aren't cracked though.
Body bag, sure. Still got the keys in the ignition.
Yeah. That's for the stripes. They bought a new decal set for it. They're all in there, in those boxes. But that wouldn't do me any good because I'd be changing the color. This, you have to...
Oh, there's more keys in there.
Lift it up and bring it over and shove it forward and put it in reverse to get the key out. You say there's another set?
Yeah.
Let's look in the trunk. See what kind of shape the trunk pan's in. Original spare. Oh, that's not good.
Oh. Typical though, right?
Yeah. I don't know if it's rotted through, but that's got to get dried out. Still looks fairly solid, doesn't it? Yeah, they came with a... Jamie?
What?
They came with a little can that you screwed onto the spare to inflate it before you put it on the car. It's got the original jack and stuff. That's good. That is the original spare. Yeah, it needs to be dried out and taken apart, but it's not a rust bucket. Door closes fairly nice. nice. Awful lot of gap right there. Doesn't that gap look a little big? Yeah, it's because those doors are so long, the hinges wear out on them, which is probably why that one's not opening. And this dent's probably from somebody pushing on it to close it. For the T-tops? I think so. That's the factory glass, though. Alright, well, let's see what we got. We're just going to have to try and hammer out a deal. It definitely needs a complete resto, though, right? Truck Inspector General doing her job, inspecting a car. Anna, how's the engine? How's the engine, honey? What do you think? Oh, there may be something wrong with the engine. She seems a little concerned. That's a goofy little dog right there. She wants in. She wants in. Okay, got the 79 Z28 home. So this car was last registered in April of 97. And it is April of 2019 right now. So it's been sitting for 22 years. Like I said, a lady bought it when it was 1 year old. She's had it for 40 something years. So she was the second owner after someone else owned it for 1 year. And I'm the third owner. So if a car's been sitting for 22 years, there's things you want to address. First thing I addressed was the front spoiler was falling off of the right side over there, and it's not perfect, but you don't want it sagging. A sagging spoiler is not cool. So I pulled all the bolts out, lubed them up, and definitely do get you a big can of that stuff, lubricant, penetrating oil, anytime you go to work on something that's been sitting for over 10 years. But I got the spoiler pretty much back where I want it. Couple of issues. Oh, I did check the oil, and here, I'll show you. The oil is right on full. Little dirty, but not too shabby. Right on full, even though that's upside down, but a little dirty, but it's good to see that it's not milkshake. Doesn't appear to have moisture in the crankcase. That's good. On the radiator, oh, also I spun the motor over by hand. It's not locked up. Spins over pretty good. The radiator is low, but there's stuff in there. You got to shake the car to be able to tell. I don't know if you can see that in there, but there's stuff sloshing around in there. And so it's a little low, which is good. I mean, it's about 2/3 full, and you got to figure in 22 years there is some evaporation. The cap wasn't all the way on there. I need to get a new one of those. So what I'm going to address now is the battery compartment. The battery tray is rotted out on this, which is common. Like I said, this isn't a rust bucket car. It doesn't have the rust where Camaros usually do, but the battery trays always corrode because that's where all the battery acid goes. And I noticed it was missing the negative battery terminal right there, so I'm gonna run down to the auto parts. Also, I don't like the side mount type battery cables, so I'm gonna get some get a regular top mount terminal for that. Next step will be to pull all the plugs out, put a little penetrating oil down in there. Marvel mystery oils, what I use. I don't put a ton of it in there, but it doesn't hurt to put a little in. I've already put a couple gallons of fresh gas. The gas tank does smell pretty decent. It doesn't smell like varnish, and so I put a couple gallons of fresh in there. I'm gonna go down to the store and get 5 more gallons to put in it. What's cool about this is there was a set of keys in the glove box and a set of keys in the ignition key, door and trunk key, and a gas cap key, and there was a set in the glove box and a set in the ignition, and they're the original keys. So I have all the original keys. The T-tops don't leak. It's been pouring in Oregon, and this car's dry in the front and back seats, which is just unheard of for a late 70s GM product with T-tops to not leak. That's unobtainium right there. I looked everywhere to try to find a factory shift knob because I was thinking about buying another car. We had some sticking points in the negotiations on this, but Jimmy and I worked it out. He's a pretty cool guy, and we're both happy. So, but anyways, I was going to go ahead and get another one. The only thing I found that I could not find anywhere was an original shift knob. So it's going to need door panels. Seats are going to need to be reupholstered, but all the interior stuff is there, and I like that it was originally black. Tilt steering column, the extra thick Z28 steering wheel. The original AM/FM 8-track tape player. It's pretty cool. And that faceplate right there folds in, and that's where your 8-track tape goes. Got the original knobs and everything. I always like stuff like that. It just, and the console looks to be in really good shape. Jimmy told me that in 1987, the lady that owned this car for 40 plus years wasn't happy with the way the decals were fading, so she went down to a GM dealer and bought every decal that's required for this new. So that's new old stock correct decals for this, and there's bags that the T-tops go in with the Fisher body logo on them. That's pretty cool. I'm pretty sure those will clean up, but yeah, pretty solid car, pretty straight, hasn't been wrecked that I know of. There's one area on the quarter panel back here that maybe might have gotten bent or something. Doesn't look, something's going on weird with the paint right here, but I've looked behind it and everything, and I don't see any dents or Bondo or anything, and it's solid on the bottom. So I don't know, maybe it got scuffed or something, or small ding, and I'm just not seeing it. But got a couple little dings in this door. We haven't had the driver's side door open since we started looking at this car, and I put the key in the door lock this morning and noticed there was no resistance. So what that tells me is that somebody had locked the door, and then they went to unlock it, and the locking mechanism came disconnected from the cylinder. So I'll have to pull the door panel off, which will be easier to do since it has T-tops. I can just take the T-tops off. We'll get that thing opening and closing, but right now I'm gonna, and also definitely want to pull that air cleaner off of there and make sure there's no critter nests going on. And I'll probably, while we're down at the auto parts store, go ahead and get a new air filter for it. And I'm going to try to see if I can get this thing to start up and run and drive, but right now I'm going to get it off the trailer. I figured I'd go ahead and work on the spoiler while it was on the trailer, because it's hard to get under there when it's on the ground. It sits pretty low. And I pulled all the bushes out from underneath it. Let's see, let's get this thing unloaded, and then we'll go down to the auto parts store and get it some goodies, and maybe we can take it for a putt around the ranch today. I'll be back. Glad I lubed up those hood hinges when we went out there and looked at it the first time, because one thing I did notice was that somebody yanked that hood up at one time without lubing up the hinges, and they just kept forcing it, and that's what caused this windshield to get cracked. That's can only be from the hood being shoved back into the windshield, because that spot's protected by the hood if you're going down the road. Not a big deal though. We can get windshields for these. Well, let's see what's residing in here. Like I said, since I'm going by the auto parts store anyways, might as well get a new air filter for this guy. Oh, that's not very encouraging. I mean, nothing was living in there, but I think we're going to do better just to go ahead and remove that whole thing until I can clean that out. Yeah, that's not good. We're going to go ahead and bypass the air cleaner for now. And we'll keep all this stuff together because it is the correct original air cleaner, but boy, it's a mess. Well, let's see what we got. Trying to get as little debris into the carb as possible. Good thing all the butterflies are closed. So this does have a couple of vacuum lines going to it, and I need to be mindful of that because if I disconnect the vacuum line, I need to plug it. Boy, it looks like there's one missing down. Oh, I see it. It just fell off. There's a, I just see that tube right there. That hose laying right there. Probably just goes right on there. We'll get that on there. I just want to make sure I do the right thing back here. I'm going to snip that and plug it off. That is crusty though. Well, that's a good sign. I had a jug that had just a little bit of water in it, and I started to fill it up and barely got any in there. And fresh green antifreeze. That is a good sign. At least we know water wasn't freezing and contracting and all of that in there while this thing was hibernating, so that's good. Got a can of carb cleaner here. I'm just going to hose that carburetor down. Probably need to blow it off too. Get the air compressor over here and blow everything off. But I'm going to wait to do that. And I decided I'm just going to get an aftermarket 4-barrel air cleaner, a chrome one for it to put on there for now. But don't hurt to soak that puppy down. I'll also need to take that distributor cap off and blow all that out. One thing at a time. You gotta wake them up slow. If they've been sitting for a couple of decades, you gotta treat them like a crotchety old man. Wake them up real slow. I think it's gonna run, folks. I'll be back after I go to the auto parts store. Well, that took a little doing and a lot of this, but I soaked that carburetor down because I couldn't get anything to move on it, and got the accelerator. Oh, pump's not coming back. Come on, pump. There we go. My accelerator pump's sticking a little. You don't want that to happen going down the road.
You might.
Well, I'd deal with it if it did. There we go. Sometimes you just got to squirt this stuff down and just be nice to it and move it around a little bit. I'll let you see what I'm doing there. Yeah. No sticky accelerator pump. It feels good too. Okay. And I got my, that you couldn't even budge it before. It's all working. My butterflies for my choke and my secondaries are working. Need a little power steering fluid. Gonna check the reservoir on the master cylinder next. And then we're about ready to go get parts, huh, Jamie? Are you excited about, huh, Jamie?
Yeah.
Are you excited about maybe driving this puppy down to the car wash today? Sure. Maybe do a little posi burner? No, we'll be nice to him when we wake him up.
You're a
There's another good sign. Pulled the cap off the master cylinder reservoir there, and well, These things are fully extended, which you can just push those back in and then cap it off. Good sign is, I didn't see the back one there. Yep, the back one's not empty either. So push these guys back in, get them flattened out, fill it up, and hopefully we'll be good to go on the brakes. Of course, we'll test drive it around the ranch first so we don't endanger the general public. Just a little update. Got the 79 Z28 into my wedding tent, which has a new roof on it now. We had a windstorm a couple weeks ago that blew the top off the tent, and it used to have a white top. Now it's got a black one. When I was putting the new tarp over the wedding tent, it fell from there to there, and my head dented that. That's from my head hitting that. But got the Z28 in here, and this car is really growing on me. It really is. It's in pretty good shape. I pushed it in here by hand, and rolls good. This is not a high performance Z28. A lot of people know this, but some people don't. They were good looking cars, they were good handling cars, but to be honest, that 5.7 liter 350 right there is probably pushing 200 horsepower max. But what's cool about this car is it's got a Borg Warner Super T10 in it, and a 373 posi rear end, and it's never been wrecked, and it's not rusty. And it's kind of filling a void in my life right now, and I just sold a Camaro that I really loved, but I'm happy with this. I am. Pretty cool car. Let's get her running. I'll be back. So here's the original air cleaner, and I elected to just pull that off because it's pretty crusty and pretty rusty, and it had all this going on inside, and I thought it would be more expedient to pull that off, keep it. Basically, we want to return it to stock, but there's a breather that goes from the valve cover to there, and one vacuum line that goes from the air cleaner to the carburetor. I cut that line, but I did cap it off on the car right here. And then the other problem is this goes to the air cleaner. I think I got a good replacement for that because it just needs to breathe. So I'm going to install this right here, Edelbrock breather there, and I'm going to put an Excel distributor cap, rotor, new plugs. I'm going to pull all the plugs and squirt some lubricating fluid down there, but those are the original spark plug wires, and I'm going to go ahead and go with those for now. Just trying to get it started up. Just a real quick update on 79 Z28. I got this car home Saturday night, and you know, like a kid with a new toy, I couldn't leave it alone, so I worked on it for a little bit. Not too much. It's supposed to be taking it easy right now, according to my doctor. We got the carb all freed up, got the radiator full. I actually got the windshield wipers working on it, and I really had to soak everything down with WD-40. This car has sat for 22 years, so you got to be careful about how you do things. I took the T-tops off just to air it out, and I can see right here, before I put them back on, I need to get some, just a soft cloth and some soapy water, and clean those gutters out because they didn't leak, and I don't want them to leak. It's gonna look like the car's leaking, but it's actually not. That's because I got some water in here. We've had some serious rain in Oregon for a while now. Anyway, just wanted to let you know what I got working. I hooked up the battery and just thought I'd see what happened. Turned the ignition on and immediately smoked the ground wire that I hooked up going to the fender. It didn't have one because the negative battery terminal was missing, so I bought a new cable and terminal and ran my own ground wire to the body, and I noticed that it smoked, so I shut everything off. No damage there, but I think I need to move the ground cable from the top of the alternator bracket down here to one of the exhaust manifolds so I can get a direct engine block ground. I think that'll help a lot. I pulled all the plugs out, and I found this in a truck I bought, and it just works perfect. I got some Marvel mystery oil to put in the, and no, I'm not plugging them in. They don't give me free stuff. I'm just saying that's what I use. Been working on engines for over 40 years now, and that's what I use. But I filled this little guy up with the Marvel mystery oil, and then when I pulled all the plugs out, I use this guy, and it gets into every spark plug hole. Kind of happy with this thing. And then you just pump it and fill each cylinder as much as you can. But what you have to keep in mind is some of these pistons are up at the top of the cylinders. So what I do is I fill the cylinders that I can up with these, and you still get a little bit into the ones that the pistons are up at the top at. But then you roll it over by hand and don't have your battery hooked up and don't have your ignition hooked up, and roll it over by hand, just, you know, a half a turn, and then squirt some more in there, and then you'll get more of the cylinders that had the pistons at the top. And the ones that you can tell are full or when the oil starts running back out. And the ones that are at the bottom, you don't necessarily want to fill that whole cylinder with mystery oil, but if you roll it over by hand after doing this, it's easier on the engine. It doesn't get the shock from the starter when you're hitting the key and it, you know, torques it. So I just roll it over a little bit like that and put a little more in the cylinders. And without the spark plugs in, it's real easy to roll the engine over because you don't have the compression going on. But make sure you don't have any battery hooked up or ignition hooked up before you start sticking your hand in the fan blade and rolling the engine over. And it's not going to start without spark plugs in it anyway. But, so I got that done. Carburetor's all cleaned up. Everything's, I know it needs to be rebuilt, but I'm just trying to see if this engine's worth saving. So you don't want to dump a whole fortune into an engine, but the reason I'm doing this is because this car has, I can't find anything modified on it. I got, like I said, I got the windshield wipers working, but I didn't get the windshield washer working because the cap, you know, plastic, and it's rotted off, but it's still got the original pickup tube and hose, and the tank's uncracked and all right. So before I hook that up, I need to get that gunk out of the bottom of it, because you don't want to just suck that into the filter that's at the bottom of the washer fluid reservoir pickup tube. So get that done, and I think I might have a cap for this. And like I said, the wipers are working now, but I would like to get the washer working too. And what I love about this car is, even though, you know, it's got way too many vacuum hoses for my taste, they're all there, and all the little fittings are unbroken, and it just doesn't look like anyone's done much of anything except maintenance to this car. So just trying to preserve what I can, replace what I need to. Now, like I said, the only thing I've taken off of it are the original air cleaner and fresh air inlet, which I still have, but I just wanted to put them aside and put a clean air filter on it. Next thing I'm going to do is disconnect the fuel line going into the carburetor. And a lot of guys back in the day, including myself, called this a quadrupuke, but they were actually pretty good carburetors for, you know, until they started messing up. But anyway, the quadrujet, as it's known, has a filter in the carburetor right where the fuel line hooks up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect the fuel line right here. I'm going to wrap a rag around this, and I'm going to take that filter out and replace it or clean it. Like I said, I don't buy a ton of parts for a car that hasn't started for 22 years. I get what I need to see if it's worth getting the other stuff for. But I know that it doesn't have a paper filter in it. It's got a, it's like a, I don't even know what it's made of, but it's not paper and it's some kind of metal, and you can clean them. So I'm going to clean that, and then I'm going to turn the engine over with the spark plugs out to build up my oil pressure after I turn it over by hand, and let the fuel pump start pumping gas from the tank. And I've got 7 gallons of new premium in there, so we'll see what comes out, and I'll use a big towel and we'll soak it all up, and we won't hook this back up until the fuel filter's clean and we're pumping fresh gas. Also, I did get the driver's side door to finally open, and I like the way it closes. It actually has good body lines when it closes. But right now it's only opening from the inside, which it wouldn't do before, but it opens very easily. And I lubed up all the linkage for the door latch and everything. I just over lubed, you know. This thing's been sitting a long time. Look how dirty that door sill plate is, because that door hasn't been opened. Is that why the lady stopped driving the car? Because she couldn't open the door? Well, the reason it wouldn't open is because there's a linkage that goes from this door handle to the door latch, and that's right here. And I noticed that it was bent, and that's probably from the door latch getting crusty. Maybe she wasn't driving it and she was just starting it once in a while after she parked it, but that got bent. And I know that this goes into plastic, and this goes into a little clip which was missing. So I'm going to replace that and get my outside. But I got the lock hooked back up, and I got the door cylinder working, so the door lock's working good, and you can open it easily from the inside now. And give me a little more lube on the door hinges. But I'm just doing what I need to do right now. I know the headliner looks crazy and everything, but the floor is solid, and still got the original, it's like factory Dynamat. It's, I don't know, tar paper or something, but there's no rust there. I've scraped it in a few areas, and I'm kind of excited to pull the rear seat out and see if the build sheet is still attached to the springs on one of the backs of the seats. The passenger side actually doesn't have any rips in it. The driver's side, of course, they always are, has a couple tears in it, but still got the hold downs for the restraints, and the retractors work good and everything. The console looks good. Linkage is shifting good. Tilt works good. The column doesn't have slop in it. So I'm getting kind of excited about it, but one thing at a time, right? Yeah, we're making progress. Oh, and I borrowed this battery from my dually, and it needs this battery. And what I did is I bought a deep cycle marine and RV battery for the Camaro, because it has these guys on it. It has top posts and bolt-on posts. So what I thought is, heck, I'll hook the battery up and run this, which I just modified. It's a short battery terminal, and I will put black tape over it so nobody confuses it for positive. But I thought I'd run it from the negative bolt-on post on the new battery to the fender, and that's pretty heavy-duty body ground right there. And like I said, I'm going to run the ground cable, instead of going to the top of the alternator bracket, to a direct engine block ground. And I think that's going to give this guy a bunch of spark and pep and make things work. I'll be back. So since this video is going to be pretty specific about restarting a 74 to 80 Z28 that's been sitting for 22 years, I was just thinking, you know, I need to turn the engine all the way over a couple of times by hand. And the way you do that is you put on a trusty pair of gloves, and depending on whether or not you're right-handed or left-handed, I usually grab the fan blades with my left hand, and then you apply pressure to one of the belts, the longest belt you can get that's the easiest to get to. If you just push down on it, it makes it grip the tool, it makes it grip the pulleys tighter, and most of them are always connected to the pulley on the front of the harmonic balancer. But I was going ahead and turning it over, and I noticed the car was running over my toe, because this is a 4-speed car. And what's really cool about these, I think it's kind of cool about these, I don't know when they started doing it. My dad's was 78, this is a 79. But they made this linkage that went all the way from the ignition switch, from right there, that's connected to the ignition switch, and it runs all the way down to, goes down to this assembly. And then there's another rod, well, take my word for it, that goes to the 4-speed linkage. I really wanted to get that for you, but it's kind of cool how they squeezed all that into that little space. I think that's the rod right there that goes to the transmission. So you can't pull the key out without pulling the shifter all the way to the left, lifting up on it, and shoving it forward into reverse. Which was a good safety device if you think about it. It probably weren't a whole bunch of these rolling down the hills because someone left it in neutral, right? You got to put it in reverse to take the key out. And if you don't have the key, you can't get it out of reverse, which is a good safety feature, right? Someone hotwires your car, they're only going backwards. Pretty cool. Anyway, I'll be back. Alright, I'll show you the other part of that. So, here's the key. Putting it in the ignition. And maybe the seat will go back now. The driver's side seat was stuck on me. But we can open the driver's side door now. And I did lube up these seat tracks because I couldn't get the driver's seat to go back, which Jamie would probably like, but I don't. It's still locked up. Darn. Well, the driver's, one side of it's broke loose. Maybe I'll get in there. Last time I got in here, I got bit by a spider. I actually bought a fogger to throw in this car. It's had some occupants over the last 22 years. Yes, it has. Oh, my brake pedal's working. Cool. I had to break that loose, and I like how tight this tilt steering column is. They're usually wore out around the collars there. I'll push in the clutch pedal. I lubed all that up. Yeah. I can't get it out of reverse, but if you push the key in, unlock the ignition, comes right out of reverse. Oh, I love that. These Super T10 4-speeds, man. Oh, I love them. The only part left of my dad's car in the whole world, well, I don't know, there might be another part left somewhere, but the only part left in my family is his Super T10 4-speed. And that's sitting about 50 feet from me right now. But it's a good transmission. So, okay, so I'll leave it in neutral. Let's just go with neutral. And try to take the key out. What? It won't. The key won't come out. But if you lift up on the shifter and shove it into reverse, the key comes out. I thought that was a pretty cool little feature. This is pretty cool too. 8-track tape player. Got that working. I'll be back. Just had another problem. The gas cap. Well, I kind of like this gas cap, but it just gave me a hard time about coming off. And what I like about it is, smell good. No varnish there. But I got both sets of the original keys with this car, and both sets of those keys had the gas cap key on it, which I'm sure has been with the car for a long time. My dad had a locking gas cap on his. And next I'll squirt some more oil down in the keyhole and run the key in and out of there. But like I said, it smells good. You run across something like this, you know, the car's been sitting 22 years. Give it a little love right there, and they appreciate it. They do. Parts is parts. I went out to one of my square body Chevy trucks and I needed a lid for my washer bottle here, because that lid had rotted away, and I found this lid unrotted. Got the pickup tube, doesn't have the filter, but I've got the correct pickup tube and filter right here. So I'll go ahead and pull that off, clean that out, put that lid on, put this hose and pickup tube on that lid, put that lid on that thing after I clean that out. And parts is parts. It's good to have parts. So these are the problems that you run into when you're trying to fix up a crusty car that's been sitting for 22 years, because you can't run that stuff through the pump system for the windshield washer and that little motor over there, right there. I need to pull this off so I can go clean it, and then you run into stuff like this. I got two of the bolts out that are holding it up, but the third one, I'll share my light with you. The bolt's right there. So first, there's the bolt, last bolt I got to get out, but it's next to that. So first you scrape that off and then you take that bolt out. That's what I do. Yep. Well, this is more gooder. So I took the bottle off, took it into the house, cleaned as much of the goop out as I could. I think I got it pretty clean in there. And it's got a good cap on it now that's hooked up to the original hose. So I'm going to fill this up. I did take the time to fill a gallon jug full of semi-warm water. And when you're dealing with old plastic like this, you don't want to use really hot water, and you don't want to just warm water and a nice soft cloth, and don't push on anything. And if you got to get down in there, what I did is I actually took one of those things like when the guy's sharpening a knife, the round thing, and put a rag on the end of it and just kind of rubbed it around in there, and it looks pretty clean to me. And so that's how you restore a washer bottle for a 1979 Z28 Camaro. And the reason I'm spending time on little stuff like this is I'm trying to be patient with the motor. I've been soaking it down with oil and turning it over by hand, and if I can see something that needs attention in the meantime, I'm going to do that, because I would really like to get this original engine in this car running and not hurt it while I wake it up. It's been sleeping for 22 years. Only takes a second to disconnect the ignition. It's this white clip right here. Just put a flat tip screwdriver in there. Hope you can see this. I don't want to break that. Very rarely do you see one that's complete like that and not broken. I don't want to break that. I'm just going to go ahead and wiggle that. So, Dad, you got to be careful with these old parts. Oh, that's very brittle. That's why they're usually broken. Oh, there we go. Got it off in one piece, unbroken. That's great. And this one over here is for the tachometer. Let's try not to break that one either. So, the one on the right is your main battery feed to the ignition. That one, the white one. And then this brown one right here is for the tachometer. But I don't want to break that. Best thing is a flathead screwdriver. Gently pry the clip loose. There we go. Okay. So got both of those unhooked. The battery feed and the tachometer unbroken. That's good. Now we can spin it over a little bit. Let's go inside. Z28. Engine spinning over from inside. First time. Oh, a buzzer. The fasten belts buzzer. And you don't want to spin it over too much. Starter's been sitting idle for 22 years. Right now that starter's going, what are you doing to me, man? Oh, it's sleeping. That's enough. Guess I'll listen to some music. That is the original AM/FM 8-track tape player. That's pretty cool. Next problem. You gotta have fuel and spark to make an engine run. Earlier I disconnected the fuel supply line from the carburetor, and it didn't look like any fuel had been traveling lately, and my rag's not wet. As many times as I've turned this engine over, this rag should be soaked right now. So, next move, there's the fuel pump. Right there, huh? Yeah, there's webs all over the place. But, so, there's two lines going into the fuel pump on this car. The smaller line, which would be on the bottom there, is a vent line. Don't ask me about all that. But that bigger line is the fuel line going into the fuel pump. So we have to disconnect that and blow air to the gas tank through that line to clear it out so that fuel pump can get some fuel to start pumping, unless it's just broken and ain't pumping fuel. And if it is broken and not pumping fuel, I have an alternative, but trying to keep this car original. So I'm gonna disconnect that line right there, take the gas cap off, blow some air through that line, see if we can get some fuel flowing. Disconnected the fuel and vent lines. I might as well blow out the vent line, which is there on the left. Right, but first, pull your gas cap off. Well, this one's not coming easy, folks. So, I blew all the fuel lines out, had to disconnect every connection for the fuel lines, all the way from the engine compartment back to the tank. But I have fuel flowing to the engine compartment, and we have a pump that's not pumping. But homie's got parts. I'll be back. And before you leave a comment saying you should have just hooked up a jug and a fuel line to it, this is not the car that I want to hook up a can under the hood or in the passenger's compartment. I want the fuel system to work as it should. So since I have fuel going to the fuel pump, and I have the line cleared out going from the fuel pump to the carburetor over there, the fuel pump's not working. Engine's spinning over really good, by the way. So I'm going to go ahead and replace the fuel pump. But I'll hang on to that one. Okay, well, I have better lubrication than I thought going on in my engine, which is good. So I'm going to share another little tip with you, and everyone's going to be like, Duh, no kidding, but a lot of people don't know about this. There is a bolt in a, I don't know if it's in all small block Chevys, but this bolt right here, the only purpose of that bolt is it's short, and if you pull that out and put a longer one in, it will hold that rod up while you put your fuel pump in. So it's a short bolt. If you pull it out and put a longer one in, after you put that rod that actuates the fuel pump in the up position, it will hold it up. And we're gonna have to do that on this one. Replace the fuel pump, fuel line, and some other stuff. And then the starter went out, but I have a brand new lifetime warranty starter right there, and I thought I'd do a couple of upgrades as far as the electrical system and the fuel system. So I'm gonna throw that on there. So I've got the new starter installed and a heavy duty cable to the starter. I'm gonna go ahead and prime the carburetor with my handy dandy squeezy little bottle thing. And I'm gonna put a bunch of gas right here in the float bowl, which is that hole. Oh, that was awesome. You heard it though. Okay. That's good. Alright, we ain't gonna push that. This is encouraging. Thank you, Lord. Okay, so the Camaro is threatening me with a good time. Got a new starter on there, new battery cables, new battery. It almost fired up a couple times, but I was planning on putting a new distributor cap on there. This one, an Excel. And I've been trying not to take parts off this car that are original, but it does have its original spark plug wires. So I thought, you know, why not take those off and save them and put some new ones on. The Excel distributor cap and coil and rotor cap. It's already got new plugs in it. I have a new fuel filter. So since it's turning over, why not just go ahead and put the other stuff on. I'll be back. One thing you do want to do is keep this retainer right here. But this car's been sitting for 22 years. It's got webs, and so you want to unlock those before you try to remove these spark plug wires, because you can't unless you unlock it. You gotta unlock those. And by the way, yes, I have been bitten by a lot of spiders since I started working on this car. But you know, if you're gonna let spiders keep you from your dreams, that's not good. That is not the original cap, so I'm not worried about that. I will save it though. Oh, that's good. Okay, so I just wanted to save the cap. It's not broke. The locks are intact. And you have no idea how many spiders I've encountered with this car. A lot of people are going to look at this and say, that's one of those lame 5.7 350s. But I don't think it was even pushing 200 horsepower. But this car, the more I work on it, the more I want to not mess with it, because it is a Z28 Camaro with a 4-speed posi and completely original and never been wrecked and not rusty. It's got corroded stuff, not body panels or floors or anything, but that's corroded. That's original carburetor. A lot of people don't think about this. It's important to keep the original numbers matching parts, and that's the original carburetor off of this car. So I gambled on buying a $25 rebuild kit for this one, and we're gonna rebuild it, and if it doesn't work right, we'll get the new one and keep that one, because the core charge for this carburetor is $25, so might as well keep the original carburetor with the original numbers. Then I should do that. People should have thought about this in '69. Keep the original parts. I'll be back when we're ready to pull that carburetor off. The car's not a rust bucket, has no rust in the floors, no rust on any of the body panels, but it does have corrosion because it's been sitting for 22 years in a barn. Right now, I'm going to pull the carburetor off, and Jamie and I would like to pump this car up a little bit. It's the reason we got one with a 4-speed and actually a Borg Warner Super T10 4-speed and a 373 posi rear end, because we want to put some power up under the hood. But, you know, maybe back in 1979 or 89, if guys would have been looking at '69 Z28 Camaros and saying, hey, maybe I ought to hang on to that original carburetor that came onto the car, or the original air cleaner, or air intake, or spark plug wires, or fuel pump, you know, hang on to that stuff. Let's get it running good with the original engine, and I'm gonna attempt to rebuild the original carburetor. Got me a clear spot cleaned off over there, and first thing you want to do, I'm not going to be able to film all this. Pull all of the hoses that are attached to the carburetor and then go elsewhere off. If it's attached to the carburetor and goes back to the carburetor, don't worry about that right now. Just right now I'm going to like disconnect the fuel line, anything like this that's going to... This car has a lot of plastic stuff on it. My dad's did too. Seemed like it ran pretty good. They're not high horsepower cars. They're not. Just because it's a Z28. In '79, trust me, it was doing good if it was getting 200 horsepower. But I'm trying to just make it run with all its original parts, so that when I take those off, I know they're working, and I can save them for, you know, when I'm gone. And but right now we're going to take the carburetor off. So what you do when you want to pull this off, I've already pulled that off because that's broken. That's the choke pull off, attaches to the manifold. I'll try to fix that before I hook it up, but there's a hose that goes to that. It attaches right there. Pull that off. Pull any hoses off that are going to the car and not to the carburetor. And then you've got just 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, and 1 on the driver's side on the bottom to pull the carburetor off. It's easy peasy. And I'll be back. Yep, it's loose. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, it's no good. So I'm going to have to clean all that up, and, oh, that's not good. This car's been sitting a long time. That's not good. But I will clean that up, and I'll be back when I have the carburetor sitting on the workbench and this mess cleaned up. That's not good. Ooh. We can fix it though. Yep. I'll be back. Clean up on aisle 1. Holy cow. I gotta clean all that up before I put that carburetor back on. I do not want to run that stuff through the motor. So I'll clean that up, rebuild this carburetor, And I'll be back. This isn't the end game plan for this car. I want to get it running with all its original parts, and then, you know, when we're in a better spot, we'll hop it up. But I just want to make it run good with what I have. This is taking way too long filming all this stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean that spotless. I'm going to stuff rags in all those holes and clean that spotless and repair it with JB Weld. And then, instead of putting the crusty old carburetor on there that I pulled off, that I did want to rebuild, by the way, and I actually bought a carburetor rebuild kit right here for it. Here's the original carburetor. Pulled it off, getting ready to rebuild it with that rebuild kit, and then found this broken primary butterfly shaft that goes all the way through the carb, and you do not get a new one of those in a rebuild kit. Everybody knows that. So one good thing about my rebuild kit is it came with a brand new base gasket, and you can always use a new base gasket for your carb, but I bought him a new carburetor. Look at that. Before. And I trust me, even if I'd have rebuilt this carb and scrubbed the heck out of it for days with all them brushes that I bought and put all this rebuild carburetor stuff in it, it never would have came out looking like this. Oh my goodness. This is a beautiful thing. But normally when you get a rebuilt carburetor, you have to turn in your core, and I decided not to do that because I'm keeping every part that I pull off of this car. I'm keeping all of it, because especially when it comes to something like the carburetor's got numbers on it that are specific to that car and that year and that motor and all that. So for 25 bucks, we're going to take this part right here and we're going to carry it over here and put it with everything that I've pulled off of this car, because I'm keeping it all together. Well, we can't keep it in that pile, but we can start a new one right there, keeping every part that I pull off of this car. I mean, for 25 bucks, if you can hang on to the original carburetor that came on any kind of a car that you're trying to restore and put money into, 25 bucks to have the original numbers matching carburetor is a good deal. And what's even a better deal is to be able to just bolt on one that's identical to it but has different numbers and is all new. So I'm going to do that. Oh, also had a problem right here. Something you don't need and always causes you problems. The only problem with this one is it bolts to the top of the manifold, but the diaphragm, this part, is broke loose from the casting that bolts to the manifold. So what you do in a case like that, if you can get away with it, is you pull this gasket off right here to use for a template to make a block off plate and seal that puppy up and be done. Anyway, back to the carburetor. This is a beautiful thing. Look at that. Oh my goodness, it's spotless. It's a beautiful thing. Gonna pull this thing right here off and see if I got a new fuel filter in there. I bet it does though. Look at that. Everything is just spotless. And I already pulled all the levers and everything. It's just beautiful. We're gonna have this, and I've already replaced everything in the ignition. Coil, rotor, distributor cap, plug wires, plugs. It's got plenty of fire. Brand new deep cycle marine and RV battery with top terminals and bolt-on terminals, double grounded, triple grounded. All we need is some carbonation going there, and all I want to do is get this engine running, and then I'm gonna put this thing aside. It doesn't leak, it's dry inside, and but you know, just have a little fun with Jamie in it one time. 4-speed posi burnouts, yeah, shred the rear tires, gonna happen. So I'm not going to be able to film all this, but what I was trying to demonstrate is if you put a smaller nozzle on your shop vac, you can clean up a lot of this stuff that's laying up on top of the intake. You know, if you're trying to start an engine and you don't want to crud going down in it. I'm going to spend some more time cleaning this up. I'm not going to get every single speck of rust out of there, but you know, these engines are kind of hardy. I'll get as much as I can out, and that one needs more cleaning, definitely. See, all that stuff's got to go. The more of it you can get out, the better. But I'm not going to be, obviously not going to be able to clean out every intake runner all the way to the, you know, cylinder head. But I'll get as much of it cleaned out as I can. But if you can run a vacuum while you're cleaning that, it's not going down, it's going into the vacuum. So let me get this cleaned up. I'll be back. We'll put this quadrupuke on this thing and fire it up and hopefully put it in gear. Okay, so sorry I couldn't film all that, but I think most folks will agree that's a heck of a lot better than what I had going on. And there's people going to say, oh, Rick, you should have pulled the valve covers off and did this and that or whatever. I'm just trying to get this running, and I'm very happy with the outcome of the top of the intake. Who? The critters are so weird out here. I didn't stage that. Anyways, so I'm going to build my EGR delete now. Who? That's really an owl. Couldn't do that. Yeah, good thing Anna's in the trailer. Anyway, I'll be back. I'm gonna make an EGR delete for that. We got critters out here. Anyway, I was gonna tell you I wasn't making up the owl. I'm out here in the shop in a box. The newly renovated shop in a box. You won't do it. Apparently we have an owl friend out here. You're welcome. You're more than welcome to stay. Just don't eat my little dog, okay? Who? Okay. I'm gonna take that as a verbal agreement. I'll be back. Oh, I gotta make a EGR delete plate for right there. I'll be back when I get that done. Gotta fabricate it myself in the shop in the box. Old school EGR delete. Take about 3 or 4. Back in the day, when you needed a piece of metal to perform a function, you just got the right piece of metal. In this case, it's a kick panel of 55 to 59 Chevy or GMC truck that's rotted out at the bottom, but was solid at the top and the right thickness of metal. So you just get that. Yeah. Make a pattern, cut it to shape, smooth the edges, drill the holes, and get your car running. That's what we did back in the day. When you needed something, you made it. Doesn't that look weird? One spotless part on top of a really cruddy motor. But it's a good motor. I know that, or I wouldn't have invested into the new carburetor for it. And a lot of people would probably say, why didn't you just rip that manifold up and put a high-rise on there in the Edelbrock? Well, I'm trying to keep the original engine intact and running good, and actually drive this car around. It's only got 82,000 original miles on it. You guys better come with me. This would be a good time to have 2 cameras, one on the engine, one inside, but I've been looking forward to this for a while now. And you guys need to experience it from my point of view. Already got new battery cables, new starter, new plugs, new plug wires, new coil. Cleaned up the distributor, rebuilt that. New cap, rotor, plugs. Full of antifreeze, full of oil. I think it's ready. There's one more look though. There's a lot of hoses. We're going to get rid of these hoses too. But I just want to make their original engine run. And I do want to thank Malala, Oregon O'Reilly's. They've helped me with this. They had a real good old guy there named Bill that's done a little research and made sure I got exactly the right carbon. I think he nailed it. You know, it's hard to get these days, but let's see if this thing will run. So when I got it, the door wouldn't open up. It still doesn't from the outside. It does from the inside now. And the seat wouldn't go back. It does now. Oh. We'll deal with the stereo later. Alright, we'll be nice to it. We'll be nice to it. Put her in neutral. It's still running. My tack's stuck. Go figure. Oh, this is awesome. Oh, it's really charging. Unless the amp gauge isn't working. Oh! We got dash lights. That's a beautiful thing. I just want to make sure it's neutral. I don't want to run over my Mountain Dew car over there. Got to keep an eye on things outside though. I'm letting the clutch out slowly. Okay, the clutch is out. Ooh. 22 years. Just because you let the clutch out don't mean things aren't turning. That input shaft on that Super T10 still. I don't know if you can hear it, but oh, there it goes. That's smooth. No smoke. It is up under the tent right now. Oh, this is awesome. How cool. This thing breathe. You gotta let her breathe. Yeah. We can have the exhaust. Oh, we got tail lights, folks. They're kind of dim, but I got new tail lights coming for it. Just let it idle, let it do its own thing right now. 22 years since this thing ran. April of 1997. And it is April of 2019. 22 years since this car's ran. It's running now though. It's running now. This is what makes me happy right here. I know everyone's gonna be like, oh, it's a lot of white smoke, Rick. Well, it's cold. I mean, it's cold outside. And the car hasn't run for 22 years. Plus, it's probably got a ton of carb cleaner inside it. It's got a lot of Marvel mystery oil in the cylinders. And it's burning all that off. So let's just let him idle and be happy. I'm gonna go kick the throttle and see if it'll idle down a little bit. Yeah, we need to pull this outside, folks. Pull it outside. Sounds good though. We need to pull this thing outside and let it breathe. That's what. Put this puppy in gear. Move it out. Let it breathe. I got the T-tops off, but it's not raining right now. Maybe we should put the T-tops back on. Let's get the awful smoky in here. Oh, the parking lights are working. It's happy, folks. I'm going to go ahead and put the T-tops on because it has been raining a lot and this car doesn't leak. So you guys hold the camera and I'll put the T-tops on. This is awesome. This is so good. This is what I like. We'll put the T-tops on. Pretty smoky up in here. Thing's been sitting for 22 years, but I think it's a happy camper, folks. Let's get her out of here. It's clearing up a little bit. 22 years since it ran. Boy, I'm sure glad I ordered new tail lights for this thing. Don't you think that sounds kind of happy? I do. It's a happy scene. It needs to come up out of that tent, though. This is what makes it all worth it, right here, folks. That's pretty quick fire up. Pretty quick fire up. We've got to pull it out of reverse. Put it in neutral. So you can hear what it sounds like outside. But that was a pretty quick startup. still smoking a little bit. Trust me, I dumped a ton of chemicals into this car to free up that engine, and sounds pretty good though. All kinds of chemicals burning out through that exhaust right now, but it sounds sweet to me. I like it. Sounds happy to me, folks. If this car would have sat for another 5 years, trust me, it would have never started up. That's the original engine, tranny, and rear end. Basically all I replaced was the entire ignition system, the starter, battery, carburetor, clean the fuel system out. But if this car would have sat for another 5 years, it would have been very unhappy, folks. 81,000 original miles. Yep. Speedometer does work though. Oh, and it does drive. That's what. And I did fix the wipers. That took some doing. And it's got the 8-track. And it's working. I like to listen to the cars sometimes. Oh yeah, she's scooting. It's crusty, folks. It's got a crusty interior, but the body's straight and it's not a rust bucket. And it's got that thing that I love right there. And I've got a whole new interior for it, but it's time to hand it off to my neighbor Randy. Let him paint her up pretty. And when we get her back, we'll do some other stuff to it. Hit the road and have some fun, like me and my dad used to do when he had one of these. I haven't started it for about a month. It's got a good dash for video footage while you're going down the road, which might not be a good thing in this one. We don't want to listen to the radio right now. Like I said, it's been about a month since I started it, and it sat for, well, since 1997. 21, 22 years in a barn. Come on, baby, get some gas to you. Been sitting a while. I've been saving, and every time I got a little extra, I put some money away and buy some parts for it. I had to do a lot of work to the engine. Not a lot, but kinda. I had to replace some components to get her running. It's got tilt and 4-speed and posi. The T-tops don't leak, believe it or not. Otherwise, the floors would be toast. Probably needs new belts. almost feel like stopping and putting some belt dressing on that belt, because this will probably be the last time I drive this car for a long time. Just going into the paint shop, folks. You know, I don't like that noise. But I don't think we ought to deliver it to the paint shop making that kind of noise. I'll be right back. See, I was gonna go get some stuff and then it shut up. Let's just get her down to the paint shop. I know the engine sound. I did a compression check on it. I checked the oil pressure and all that. It's got the original engine, tranny, rear end, everything. And I think it runs pretty good. You haven't seen the videos of all the nights I spent in that wedding tent with this car. It's pretty cool. Got some rattles. All the squeak's gonna come back and bother us, but you know what? We'll just have to deal with that. This is the best thing for me. The steering wheel's sticky. It's got some squeaks and rattles and stuff, but it's a very sound car, good car. And I bought this car about a week after I sold my 72 Rally Sport, and a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, Rick, why would you sell a 72 Rally Sport?" Well, you have to watch the video. I had to sell it. That girl was crying. I had to unload it, and something's hanging low, but we're just doing paint right now. And I'm going to explain to Randy when we get down there. Feel free to rip anything you want out of the interior, because I got a brand new one for it. I'm just hoping they'll bag the screws and label what goes where and all that, because I know where they go, but I got to know what they are when I unbag them, if that makes sense. And there's going to be people that are going to say, "Oh, Rick, that poor thing sat in the barn for 21, 22 years. You should be nice to it." Well, I have been nice to it. I turned the engine over by hand for a long time by myself. And then I turned it over. All the stuff works too. It's awesome. And then I turned doesn't it sound good? Factory exhaust on this. It's not going to have the factory exhaust when you come back. You folks hold on now. You folks holding on. Oh, I got a car behind me. I got to pull over for a second. I got a car coming that way too. You know I'm up to no good, right? We're just making sure everybody's off the road and safe before we go this next 200 feet to the body shop. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? I've got a set of block hugger headers for it. I'm gonna put the 3-inch flow masters and all that. It's gonna be cool. You guys ready? Ready? That's my last ride in the Z. I got one brake on the left rear that works pretty good. Sorry, I didn't mean to explode. You gonna yell at me? You gonna? Yes. My dad had one of these when I was a kid, and I want to get it, kind of do a tribute to him, but I'm gonna paint it my own color and make the engine go a little faster than his 85 horsepower.
Well, I'll tell you what, George can do it. Randy can do it.
Oh no, I'm doing the engine. I just want him to paint it up pretty for me.
My dad had a 76 Trans Am when they got it.
I got my camera going. I had to get some footage of that stupidity.
Doing a video. But anyways,
Most people expect that out of me.
my dad, he bought that car. He parked it in the garage.
Hi, Randy. Where were you? Your dad had a 76 Trans Am.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Bill.
I'm Rick.
Pleased to meet you. So anyways, him and a buddy of his dropped about...
Feel free to lean on it. I'm getting it painted. No, go ahead. I'm kidding. Normally that'd be a no-no, but in this case, I totally understand.
Yeah, like a... That's not a chick magnet. It's not even a magnet.
I know.
Well, I take that back.
I got to edit that now.
That's it. I take it back. It is probably a magnet.
It probably is.
Randy can
Them guys with the on their heads. Randy's like, he's going to have to edit the heck out of this. One thing I do want you to do, though, if you could, is have someone pull the back seat out and see if there's a build sheet in there.
Yeah.
Because you just pop the cushions, you know that, right? And then there's 2 bolts. But there should be a build sheet in this car because it was bought by a lady when it was 1 year old. And she drove it the whole time and owned it and then put it in a barn in 1997. So the build sheet should be in there. Not that it's going to matter because I'm changing the color, so it's never going to be an original. But who wants an original Dookie Brown Z20? I mean, I'm sure somebody does.
165 horse, brand new. Nobody wants
185 horse.
185 horse, brand new.
Yeah, but that Borg Warner Super T10 4-speed down there, buddy.
Yeah.
And that even though it's only a 10 bolt, that 373 posi rear end, they're awesome. You can beat the heck out of them. Right?
Yep.
Yippers. Anyway, I'm gonna give you the keys, and my neighbor Randy's gonna take over on Project Z28. We call it Project Krusty Z. It's not that crusty though. It's not a rust bucket, brother. You know. Okay, and also, so when you pull the headlight bezels, parking lights, grills, and all that, you don't have to put them back in. I got all brand new stuff, so just put them in the back seat, and don't worry about messing up the upholstery.
Those, don't you?
I come down here one day and had lunch with Randy, and he had a box in the corner. He says, I got something you need for that car. It's the lower grill, but I got custom upper and lower ones for it now. I'm gonna try those, and if I don't like them, I'll put the original ones back in.
Randy did a Camaro a couple years ago, and I delivered it for him, and it scared the hell out of me. It was so good.
Oh, this one, you know what? I'm out of line for even doing that burnout in it, because poor thing. But I worked hard to get it running and driving good. Yeah. So, oh, it's got one brake, brother. Left rear. I just found that out. We'll work on that after we get her painted up pretty. But could you have someone like power wash under the hood so you're not blowing stuff? Like I said, tail lights, ain't got to put them back in. License plates, don't have, just pile that stuff in the back. And if the pile gets too big, give me a call. But if you could have them do one thing, like if they're dismantling anything, like taking the floor sills out or whatever, could they just tape the screws for the floor sills to, you know, where I can figure out how to put stuff back together. It's pretty solid. All right. Classic Truck Rescue, leaving the Krusty Z project with Randy. My neighbor, he's a good neighbor, and he does awesome paint jobs, just beautiful. And if somebody does something better than you, let them do that.
Well, I guarantee you.
Anyway, here's the engine compartment. Everything's all the factory connectors and stuff. Those will go when Randy gets done with it. All that's going, but I'll bag it up and save it with the car, especially if he finds the build sheet under the back seat. That's the first thing he's going to look for. And if you do find it, can you take a picture of it and then call me? He's a good guy. All right, it's all yours, buddy.
63 Nova.
So I think he's nailed it. Yeah.
This is actually
and that's a metallic. But did you get that text I sent you about it being called bright blue?
Yeah,
and that's
this is actually a custom color.
Well, I like it.
You want this color instead?
Yeah, I like it a lot. Actually, to be honest with you, I'd want it just a shade lighter. Look up that color. No, it's beautiful.
Sucker changes too. Whoops.
That's that chameleon.
I kind of like that, folks. No, it's not chameleon, but it's because you got that metallic in there, and it's. I do like that.
Maybe we'll do a spray out and get the.
But will you? Yeah. So before we go full bore, we'll paint one part or like a piece of metal and see what it looks like. I do like it though.
Actually, should have it over here. Stripe on a car with this kind of hood. Trying to find the hood. See a white hood here?
A white hood?
Yeah, a white hood. It was just here.
No, that went in yesterday's load. These guys don't hesitate to cut into something and weld something new on it. That's what I like about them. No fear. Yeah, we'll chop it up and make something better.
That's weird.
And then to get these loads of the scraps. That's awesome, though.
That's what your car is going to look like.
No, I hope not, brother. I really hope not, because this is something I bought it out of being butthurt from selling my 72 Rally Sport. I think we'll make a good car out of it, though. All right, we'll be back. We'll be back, right? What'd you do with those original keys I gave you? You didn't lose them already, did you? Been raining for, I don't know, about a week straight now out here, and this is about the highest I've ever seen our stream. Right here, it doesn't really look like a stream right now. It looks more like a river. Been trees floating down and all kinds of stuff.